Why are Canadians staying away from Las Vegas? Could it be the rhetoric out of the White House, or is it the tariffs, or is it both? Let's hash it out with the help of the Nevada Independent reporter, Howard Stutz. Thank you so much, Howard, for being here. And we have to think of ourselves here. What is it going to do to impact the local economy here in Las Vegas? What have you found through your reporting?
Well, Kim, thanks for having me on. What's fascinating is that international, let's go back to the pandemic. We were looking to try to revive international travel as fast as we could, because that's a big component in Las Vegas back in 2021, really pushing for it. Canadians were still coming then. That was one of the few international flights we had were coming in from Canada, Toronto and Montreal because of the connection. And Canada is the #1 international tourist destination, tourist market for, coming to Las Vegas. So we saw this huge dip in February's numbers. International visitation went down, and especially from Canada. I mean, some of the flights were like 15, 12%, down. And I first thought, well, it would look like the tariffs, and I wrote about it. The week later, I had Canadians reaching out to me saying, it's not the tariffs, it's the disrespect. And you have to remember, these are February's numbers that we got toward the end of March. And so, they said, we're not coming to Canada because of the disrespect. Like you said, the 51st state and all the rhetoric coming out of the White House. And that was and so we'll see now next week, we should see, end of April, we'll see the March numbers. I think they're going to be down pretty bad coming, when we see the March numbers.
By all accounts, it could be billions of dollars for the United States. Obviously, we would take a chunk out of that here in Southern Nevada. But I just have talked with Canadian friends, and it's the same thing. I first started noticing when we would have hockey games north of the border and all of the fights that were going on. I thought, this doesn't seem very Canadian. I know it's hockey, but they were saying at first they thought it was funny, the whole 51st state thing. Now it's insulting. I've talked about on the program a neighbor who lives behind me, who is a snowbird, is purposely boycotting coming down to her home here in Las Vegas this season because of Donald Trump's rhetoric. I know you don't have a crystal ball to know exactly what this is going to do to our community, but it's gotten to the point where the Bill Hornbuckle, who heads the largest, he's the largest employer of the state as far as MGM Resorts, that they're concerned.
Yeah, Bill Hornbuckle was speaking last week at the East Coast Gaming Conference. He said when a Canadian team comes in to play the Vegas Golden Knights, they get, a ton of fans, thousands of fans come from Canada for those games. They follow them down here. I've seen that before. You and I have seen that. We've gone, we go to Vegas Golden Knights games and seen Canadian teams, and it's a good crowd from Canada. That's a big worry. The question will be what happens, if U.S. visitation to Las Vegas continues to fall. That'll be the other point. Now you look, it's cyclical. You look at just this past weekend. Huge numbers. How many people went? 130,000 people packed Allegiant Stadium for WrestleMania for 2 days. And so we'll see that, but is it enough to cover? I don't know. Visitation is really, the international visitation is a key component to Las Vegas, and not just Canada. If Canada is staying away, what about the internet? What about our visitors from across the pond, and the UK and France and all over Europe? Are they going to start staying away from the U.S.? That's the big question that we don't know yet. We saw a huge drop in visitation for February. I expect we'll see a huge drop for March when we see those numbers next week. So yeah, it's something that's going to affect our economy now going forward, and that's doubled up with the Wall Street, as you guys were reporting earlier, with the markets being down again. All these big companies here in Vegas, are publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and they've seen a huge hit in shareholder value. So this is something that we're kind of watching. We have to watch closely the next few months.
And this is where we will do the whole stay tuned. Once we get those numbers for each and every month, we'll have to check back in with you and see how it's playing in our community. Howard, thank you. Thank you to you and all of the reporters within the Nevada Independent. You guys do a great job, and it is always a must read. Thank you.
Thank you. And we always love being on with you, Kim.
Thank you. And we'll see you again soon.